Welcome to our Lions-Titans post-game show, a game I'm sure you are all very, very, very eager to talk about at length, and so we're going to do that. No, we're not. We're going to do a quick little post-game show here. Lions 25, Titans 46. Yeah, it happened. Lions lost. Their defense is very, 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 very bad. This game didn't really play out to anyone's surprise, I don't think. Lions offense was able to move the ball pretty regularly, had some big issues with turnovers today, though. And then defensively, the Titans did what they've done all season, which is put up a ton of yards, put up a ton of points.
Bowl over people. Just run you the hell over.
Yeah. And so we're left with a result that's disheartening. I think a lot of people maybe were thinking the Bevel bump could continue. They were competitive against the Packers last week. They were competitive, I guess, for a half in this game, but it always just kind of felt like this one was in the Titans' control, and as soon as the Lions made a mistake, or in this case, multiple mistakes, they would run them over, and that's exactly what happened.
Yep. It looked for a second like it even got close in a few places. There was points where it felt like, hey, maybe the Stafford hero thing could maybe do something. You get close before the half. You know, you have the awful goal line fumble that just absolutely just was pain and misery. But then you get the safety off of it, which is, I'm pretty sure it's our first. How many years has it been since the Lions have scored a safety? It feels like forever.
I believe Dave Burkett threw it out there that the last time the Lions had a safety was 2016 against
2016
the Tennessee Titans.
Really? Look at you.
Look at that. Look at that.
That would be full circle. It's a circle of life coming from that to well, the circle of life usually ends with death and being, re-entered into the earth for your nutrients to be reused by grub and maggots. So,
well,
I mean, that's fitting. That's fitting.
Yeah, let's hope this was the death of the Lions, and we, from here on out, we're gonna
the death of the Lions.
The rebirth of them begins, and
waiting for Godot or whatever. Anyway, so safety, touchdown, missed extra point, but still, it's like, with the field goal, cool. You're down 9 points. You're in a weird spot. You can jerk off to the scoregami at that point.
I mean, they even come in the first 10 minutes of the second half even actually went pretty well. They come out, they drive, they have the Hockenson fumble, which is
until the very end. Yeah, the fumble was.
But then they get a punt. Then they get another drive that looked really promising. They have to settle for a field goal, but at that point, it's a 6-point game, right? They're not in a horrible position.
And then Tennessee remembers, wait, we have Derrick Henry.
Yes, and then it's Titans touchdown, Titans touchdown, Titans touchdown, end of game. Like, that's it.
Yeah. It just, you just had to wait a bit for them to realize, like, I think the Titans were outthinking themselves. On one hand, they were like, okay, the Lions are so damn banged up in the secondary, we should just throw on them. And to his credit, Ryan Tannehill does finish this game with 270 yards and over 10 yards average per completion.
Yeah,
but you have a super weapon in Derrick Henry. I feel like fantasy owners are going to be the most mad today, Jeremy. I hate to go fantasy, but like Tannehill filching a rushing touchdown off of that guy.
He had a couple.
It's brutal. But yeah, no, like Tannehill was good, which is not a place you want to be on Tannehill. I refuse to admit Tannehill's good.
Stop it. He's a top 10 quarterback. No. He is.
That's an indictment of the league if he's a top 10 quarterback.
I mean, check the guy. Every possible stat you could look at.
Some guys do that move, Jeremy. Some guys, one day they leave an AK in the back of a rental Hertz in South Florida, and then they decide they're going to go to Nashville and become a born-again Christian. Like, it is a move. I don't think it makes you a better quarterback necessarily, but, sometimes it happens. Sometimes you just got to get away from Philbin or whoever was down there. But again, like that's the problem. Is like on one hand, like pick your poison here. Tannehill was either throwing for you on the day, or Derrick Henry is going against you, and your running defense is not good.
I mean, nothing about this defense is good, and everything about this Titans offense is good. I mean, we were fawning over the Packers offense last week and saying like how are the Lions going to handle them. The Titans are averaging one fewer point per game. 30 points per game. And so this is just as good of an offense. They're balanced on passing the ball and running the ball. And we saw it I mean, we saw Corey Davis run all over Duron Harmon on that embarrassing play. We saw linebackers lost. This was another rough game for Jelani Tavai. We saw someone who I don't know if anyone knew this guy was on the team prior to 1 p.m. today, but Alex Myers was in there for Mike Ford for most of the game playing cornerback, a guy
and
who
immediately died.
Immediately died. Immediately
died. Immediately had his Wikipedia vandalized for people declaring his death to Derrick Henry.
Yeah. And so, I mean, on top of the Lions defense just being bad, they're so depleted of injury at this point. There's no Trey Flowers. There's no Danny Shelton. There's no, I don't know, anyone in the secondary.
I don't even think those guys would have made a difference in this game, to be honest.
I mean, really they would have made a little bit of difference. They wouldn't have changed the outcome. There still would have been a loss, but I mean,
yeah, like that's what happens when you run up against a decent quarterback and a star running back, like one of the very few. Like the trend of running backs in the NFL being that we probably shouldn't be drafting them high, but at the same time, here's Derrick Henry laughing at all of you about that analysis because he's just that damn good. Like I don't know. I think all I can think about looking to the future with this game is I've had some people try to tell me this year it's that, Stafford can probably still win with these Lions. They can be dragged to the mountaintop like John Elway or whatever. This defense is a far cry from being like anything like Denver had with Elway. Like this is a rebuilding project for the defense. It's going to take a year. That's going to take a couple of years at least.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say at this point. I appreciate Stafford going out there and doing heroism. Although I would ask, if you're the front office of the organization, are you happy that Stafford willed himself back out there? Because, like, I mean, okay, he took like what 2 QB hits today, so he was mostly safe. But I mean, I'd be 5 QB hits. I don't know. If you're looking to either trade, if you're of the mind to trade value. Kind of didn't want him playing. I mean, we were even running the question of whether we should shut down Stafford this week.
Sure.
On the site. And I don't know what, like, we all admit these games are meaningless. And I know there's probably different parties, and I'm not part of any of them. I'm just, playing a devil advocate here. You've got Team Tank, which would not want to see him play. You've got Team Preserve Stafford for next year so he plays well and plays healthy. Admirable. Don't want him to play then, if you're one of those people. Team want to preserve his trade value. Admirable, maybe, I guess. Also, again, want to kind of preserve him there. I understand, though, that Stafford is a beast and he is stubborn and was going to go out there no matter what. And once again, people are completely misunderstanding my point. And like, I'm asking you guys to open your mind, not yell at me. Like, you guys are idiots. I'm done with this point.
I mean, then let's just talk about Stafford's performance today because, I mean, who cares? Who cares if they should have benched him or not? They didn't. Doctors cleared him.
I find it an interesting storyline coming out of this. Is that going into it? I think there was, reason to question on whether he should be playing, other than the fact that he's a football player. Rah rah, beat your chest. You're a fucking animal. Rah rah, I'm an animal. Rah, I want to play football. Like, that's cool. But if you're taking a long-term, real politic of the organization, you probably didn't want to see him play. Well, I mean, although granted, we've been on this podcast multiple times saying the real politic of football is something we are not interested in. So I did like seeing him play today.
But you also have to consider that everyone out there is fighting for their jobs right now. Darrell Bevell is fighting for a chance to stick around in the organization for for something in the future, and Matthew Stafford gives him the best chance.
Sure.
He very clearly did today too because he was playing freaking lights out. I was concerned early in the game because he was kind of dunking his ways down. He looked downfield and didn't throw it a bunch, but then second quarter comes around. He's throwing dimes downfield, 30, 40 yards downfield. And so, I mean, who out there has motivation to bench Matthew Stafford right now? Who in the Lions organization has that? It
would have to come from somewhere up high, and right now this front office is decapitated. Like,
right, and all of them are fighting for their jobs too.
Play. Yeah,
every single one, every single person in that Lions organization right now benefits from winning right now because none of their futures are protected. Except for Chris Spielman. Chris Spielman might be the one person in the building where it's like
Chris Spielman is he has the Neanderthal brain that would have approved of this move too. Let's not kid ourselves. It's absolutely the right move to play him out there. I was kind of worried because he took that shot to the ribs late in the game, so we'll have to see, and hopefully that's nothing too bad there. But yeah, no, he played fairly well. Again, it just kind of goes to show that there's just not much around him right now. Like he made some good weapons out of Marvin Jones having a good day. And like I even saw a couple throws to, I mean, we get that one throw to Quintez Cephas.
A bomb to Quintez Cephas, a bomb to Hunter Bryant, who finally, after weeks
Bryant,
of saying like,
we're show, finally.
I mean, that's the only catch and I think only target he had all day. He had another target. But yeah, it was nice to finally see him kind of display his receiving abilities that we saw during training camp. But I think everyone was like, when are we going to see it? You know, we got rid of Isaac Nauta. It's finally going to happen. It's finally going to happen. Then 2 weeks go by, nothing happens. He catches a big one in this game. And again, that was a dime.
Yeah,
the throw to Quintez Cephas was a dime. He had a big one to Marvin Jones.
Sanu
as well.
showed up quite a bit. Like I know he didn't get any pretty long, but he was fairly productive. I'm not sure how many of these guys the Lions are going to be able to keep around next year. We've talked a lot about, hey, will the Lions be able to draw Kenny Golladay back? I don't know if they'll be able to draw back Marvin Jones or Mohamed Sanu.
Yeah, those are all questions to kind of have down the line, and they're going to have a ton of. Hold on, I got to sneeze.
Jeez,
I have a ton of questions about their wide receiving core, and yeah, I think you have to imagine it's an either or situation with Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay, and I don't know what's going on there. I mean, obviously everything is currently on hold because the Lions don't really have a general manager right now. But that's going to be a big decision by, we talk about the big decision with Matthew Stafford that they're facing, but they also got a lot of big decisions to have there at the wide receiver core.
Yeah. The only one I can really say that I know is going to be sticking around is obviously DeAndre Swift. I mean, Cephas, I don't know if you'll get into, Cephas's development. Who knows? We've seen this before where we say, oh, it can only trend up, and sometimes it never trends up.
Especially with late round receivers always seem to be like, oh, he's going to be good. You guys just got to wait. I'm not ready to board that with
We've played this
Cephas.
game before.
Yeah.
We've played this game before with every position of Lions, seemingly over the past 4 years, be it with a running back or a defensive end or a linebacker. Like, I'm not going to sit here and try to forecast Cephas. I will forecast DeAndre Swift, and I hope that this continues to be good. I will give it that.
Yeah.
Wasn't fantastic out there, but again, there's only so much you can do in front of this line, I feel like.
Overall, a more positive than negative day for DeAndre Swift, but I feel like more people are going to remember the fumble on the goal line.
Oh yeah, sure. We're going to cherry pick this. We're going to cherry pick him to death. This is the year that I feel like in the offseason, people are going to cherry pick the hell out of DeAndre Swift. It's almost a weird bookend, right? Like we start the year with a god awful drop in the end zone, and now we're near the end of the year, and it's like fumbling on the goal line.
Yeah. Really quick, let me catch up on alerts. Detroit gifted 5 subs earlier. You're gonna have to let me know if you want that to go towards Save the Stash or Shave the Stash. He also subbed a couple minutes later, and then we just got a sub from Hellboy Kurt, who's now subbed for 8 months. Appreciate it. Let's just concentrate on the defense. I mean, I'm assuming you mean in the offseason, not in this podcast, because I don't know what else we can possibly say about the defense.
You want me to talk about the defense? It sucks. Close the book.
I don't know if there's a single person I can say something good about in this game. Okwara, sure, but he also bit super hard on Tannehill's first rushing touchdown of the game. So, one good play, one bad play. I guess that sort of ratio is great for the Lions, a 50-50 good play, bad play ratio.
That's better than a lot of other guys out there.
That's not good enough.
I mean, Okwara is a weapon with a specific purpose. You wind him. It's like a I'm trying to think of the name of one of those wind-up cars that just like you. It's one of those like zip racers where you just kind of wind it up and it just flies in a straight line. Okwara's good at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He's good at creating disruption and then maybe like little else. But I'll take it. I'll take it. There was some other. This was not a good day for a lot of guys, especially in the backfield. I think we talked about, like, as I said, the reason why Tannehill was kind of having himself a day was they kind of realized that the Lions are so banged up and so depleted in the backfield that they should just take shots on them. And true to their word, they did kind of just that.
Yeah. I mean, they were clearly targeting Alexander Myers, and he did manage to get one of the team's 2 pass defenses on the day. But again, that's the one good play amongst a lot of bad ones. Linebackers and coverage is an absolute disaster for this team. Duron Harmon had a bad game, which is not something we're used to seeing. I mean, 3 weeks ago we were talking about Duron Harmon having a top 5 PFF rating among all safeties. I have to imagine that's dropped quite a bit since, especially in this game. That touchdown to Corey Davis was just straight up embarrassing on his part. And it didn't get better throughout the game. The Lions just had no answers. And anytime they would try to dial up a blitz to help them out, Tannehill knew the read right away and could exploit the
I saw
the
several
matchup.
people, and I saw several people when it comes down to this too. Like, I understand people see some of the promise in Jamie Collins, but once again, the ratio on bad play to good play, not great for Jamie Collins. And if that's one of your better players out there, that's not... as you say, that's not endearing either. There's a lot of work to be done with this defense, and you faced a good offensive team today, and I think that should, if nothing else, prove to you just how much work there has to be to make this thing anything recognizable.
Yeah.
This is even lower than like the 32nd ranked defense right now. I'm not going to lie.
It's bad. It's bad by just about every statistical measure. They're going to finish somewhere near 30th, 31st, 32nd in Football Outsiders, points allowed, all that sort of stuff. It's
your saving grace is the Jets are in front of you.
Yeah. The Jets, who are currently holding the Rams scoreless through one quarter, up 7-0, which... My good friend Bearded Blevins has like a 14-game parlay, and that's the only one left that he needs to hit on. And if
14 games, what is this? Is like Howard Ratner?
I don't know, but if he loses because of that game, he's gonna be livid. Anyways, I honestly don't know what else much is left to say about this game. I see a couple people in the chat talking about Hawkinson, how this was a disappointing game from him. You're absolutely correct. Only 2 catches from him, and that very, very critical fumble there in the third quarter. I guess if you're head coach watching, maybe you're looking at this game in an entirely different light, and you're like, Arthur Smith, Titans offensive coordinator, 46 points is 46 points. I don't care who's coming against. That's a good day. And I mean, the guy deserves a ton of credit because that Titans offense is carrying a Mike Vrabel team. Remember, Mike Vrabel's that team's head coach.
Yep.
Mike Vrabel, a defensive-minded head coach, and Arthur Smith has done a fantastic job over there. And sure, a lot of it is Derrick Henry, but I think you saw today, early on, Derrick Henry wasn't playing that well. He was averaging, I think, under 4 yards a carry in the first half, or at least for most of the first half. It was Ryan Tannehill that was carrying that team. And
and I feel like we're going to be doing this each week, Jeremy, where it's like we're going to see one team go off, and suddenly we're going to fall in love with the coaching talk of the day. And kind of lose our minds and go back and forth and listen. Like, 49ers just had another awful, terrible loss today to the Cowboys, which I don't know if I take the shine off Saleh's name, or you know what it is on small sample sizes. I mean, God, they lost that game because of Nick Mullins too. Like,
they had 4 turnovers in that game.
Yeah.
The 49ers. So they're getting no help from their offense. I know it says the 49ers scored 33 points in that game, but you turn the ball ball over 4 times. That's not great.
I'm just seeing Lions fans kind of like ping pong on people. I just feel like we're in kind of that, once again, back in that Monday Night Football, Brian Dable versus Robert Saleh type of game where it's just like there's going to be a new game each week where we're just going to be chasing the new shiny thing because we're just that desperate at this point.
But, to bring it back to Arthur Smith, I mean, Titans offense has been solid all year. After this performance, they might jump into the top 3 in terms of scoring. And so, and that's with, 16 points in the opener. Then they got 30, 31, 42, 42, 24, 20, 24, 17, 30, 45, 35, 31, and now 46. It's a lot of high scores. And if you guys are looking for offensive-minded coaches, and I know most people are, and understandably so, it's an offensive-minded league, I think Arthur Smith needs to be, part of the conversation up there, and he's probably going to move up in our power rankings after this game, despite the fact that he played a really, really shit defense.
How much would you pay Marvin to come back next year? That's a damn good question, just because, he's going to rack up some years, and to be honest, I feel the replacement level on a guy like Marvin Jones, he's not, I wouldn't even put him in he's not top tier. I don't even know if he's the next tier down. He plays well, but I don't know if you're going to be paying a premium to retain him at this point.
All that's really hard to judge, honestly, because he's over 30 now. He'll be 31 by the time next season starts. I would say he's a mid to high tier wide receiver 2 in this league. And I don't know, that'll cost you at least 11 to 12 million, I think, a year. Maybe time up for a 3 years for 30 million. I think that's reasonable on both people's part.
I feel like we talked about this on a prior podcast to PODcast too, that the draft value proposition on wide receivers right now is really good. Obviously those have to pan out. Those have been a lottery scratcher tickets, but
look at the success around the league. There's a ton of great young wide receivers right now in the NFL that you're like, why? Give me some of that.
And I feel like Kenny is hurting his Kenny Galladay is hurting his free agent.
No question.
Value by just sitting out. I don't know if he's sitting out or if the Lions are sitting him out, but he's not putting tape up there, and he's not at the point where he can just walk with this little tape. He might just have to take, depending on who the general manager is after him, he might just have to, take what he can get from the Lions, which, if that's the case, then I'll take, if it's between Kenny and Marvin Jones, I'll take Kenny over Marvin Jones.
I'm with you. I don't, he's definitely hurting himself I shouldn't say he's sitting out. He said very clearly, so did Darrell Bevell this week, he's trying to be out there. He wants to be playing.
Right.
And it wouldn't make any financial sense, as we're saying right now, for him to sit out, because missing the last 9 games of the season, that's not a good look. And people aren't necessarily going to be willing to risk $20 million a year on a guy that just missed 9 games because of a hip injury. All that being said, he's still gonna get a lot of money. He's still gonna get at least $18 million a year.
Yeah, I think the hype and some of those plays will endear himself to a free agent market. We need to see kind of how the wide receiver market pans out first, obviously.
Sure. But yeah, I think he's in for a payday if the Lions don't franchise tag him. I think it might make most sense for everyone involved to franchise tag him. But again, Lions need a GM in place before we really start seriously.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of money to throw at a pretty young guy who's missed a lot of time too for a franchise tag. It kind of feels like a last resort kind of deal there.
Well, I'd honestly, I think I'd rather give him that than give him $19 million a year, which is probably what he's going to get in the free agency.
Yeah. On a longer deal too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else from this game you want to talk to before maybe we throw it over to chat for a little bit? I'm trying to think.
Again, the big story for me was, Stafford playing. I mean, again, it's a mensch move to do and everything. That's cool. It speaks to good machismo and everything. I just, again, if there had been a general manager in position, I just don't know if that would have been wise. And I would just ask that, you at least contemplate that, rather than just, we do this thing that we do where we just get pig-headed and dismiss opinions. But I don't know what else there is to say at this point. The Lions are kind of just treading water, 5-9. Cowboys win today, which is fantastic if you're watching the draft.
That's something we could talk about is what happened in terms of Tankathon and where the Lions are.
Tankathon. So it's our favorite website these days.
Currently 10th, tied with Dallas, although Dallas has the easier strength of schedule, so Dallas is 9. Detroit is 10.
Dallas has been playing well lately. They're the whole NFC East has kind of gotten its bleep together at this point.
A little bit. Washington loses, so that doesn't help the Lions out necessarily. Houston almost won. They took the Colts to the end there, but did not. So that was rough. Yeah. Atlanta, same with Atlanta. Like they gave Lions hope there.
Wow, Atlanta collapses against a guy named Tom Brady. I've never seen that happen before.
Yeah, the only really other good, quote unquote, good result is the Bears winning, I guess. But that also has the adverse effect of the Vikings losing. Those guys are kind of well below Detroit anyway. So the games really
Chargers did win this week, which
they did. That did. I mean that puts them within striking distance now. They're 5-9.
There's a massive 5-9 loggerhead from 8 to 12 right now, and Giants have still yet to play too. If they pick up a win, they'll drop out too. But I mean, they're playing the Browns. I think they're playing Colt McCoy at quarterback. Have we gotten word if Daniel Jones is playing yet? I know he's questionable.
That's really the only remaining.
That's your game you want to watch. You want to watch Sunday Night Football. If you are a draft watcher, you want to watch Sunday Night Football tonight. Because if the Giants, and you want to be rooting for the Giants.
That's pretty much the only remaining game that matters. I mean, Eagles technically too, but they're down already 16-0 to the Cardinals. So that game, looks like
they're 4-8-1. I don't think you're catching them at this point. That tie is going to really mess around with their schedule.
Well, no, but their record. But if the Eagles win tonight, if they win that game, the Lions jump them because 5-8-1 is better than 5-9.
Wow. Yeah, I think there's a bunch of other teams that would jump them too, like Chargers, Dallas, Detroit, San Francisco, Denver.
Right.
Like Philadelphia just basically jumps from 7 and then 8 to 12, just all move up one spot, and the Lions are in the middle of that pack. So what we'll hope, obviously that's one out in front of you, but then again, you want to be watching Chargers, Dallas, and 49ers the coming days. But I don't. Is there a game you think the Lions could win that's left on the schedule? Because I don't.
Vikings aren't going to be playing anything in Week 17. That loss to the Bears pretty much empties any chance of them making the playoffs. So, they could beat the Vikings. They've been horrible against the Vikings in the past 3 years. So, if we're talking matchup wise, there's no chance. But who knows who the Vikings will be playing? Who knows who the Lions will be playing? Maybe. I mean, we saw the Lions pull Stafford at the end of the game here, in which Stafford probably didn't want to leave, and maybe that's a sign where this game is over, the season is over.
I think that was a result. Him being pulled was more result. He was taking a couple of nasty hits late in that game.
Yeah,
where he took one and he was kind of coming up and I was worried about his ribs for a second. So, I think that was the wise point at that point. It's cool, he had his fun out there, but. Now you're starting to get banged up, big guy. So let's, and I mean, by that point, the Lions were also down by two and a half scores.
Yeah, it was 21, I think, at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There wasn't much left to play for then.
Yeah. Speaking of not much to play for, Lions have 2 games left, the Buccaneers and the Vikings, and Buccaneers will, I believe they clinched a playoff spot today, but they'll also be looking to probably make way on the Saints if they can to potentially win that division.
They need to play a game like the Lions. They need to play a game where the Bucs have been in their heads a little bit too much lately. They have way too much talent to be down that much to the Falcons early in that game. So they're going to want a couple games to test things out and get right. And unfortunately, Lions, your warm-up practice. So.
Is there anything you're looking for from the line? Forget wins and losses, forget, I don't know, whatever. Is there anything you're even looking for in these games, or you're just can we just get this GM search done? Memes.
I'm looking for memes. I don't even want to think too much about the GM search because general managers bore me. They're not crazy weirdos like baseball or the NBA.
They're pretty important though.
I know they're important, but I also would ask you, who is the Daryl Morey or the Theo Epstein of the NFL?
I don't know. Who
they're important, but yeah. Well, you only watch football. Yeah.
True. Yeah. Chat says they're looking forward to Hunter Bryant. Let's see if we can build on one catch so far. Looking forward to DeAndre Swift. Man. DeAndre Swift is
the guy. The sky's the limits.
DeAndre Swift's late touchdown, I know probably half of you had already turned the game off at that point, but that last touchdown was real nice. And so I'm hoping.
No, he's improving really well. Again, he's going to get cherry picked to death. I hope. Funny enough, we had a conversation on radio last night about Eric Ebron and that brought up some episodes about Lions fans cherry picking. But I think Swift isn't in trouble. Swift isn't in trouble the way Ebron got in trouble with the fan base. I think
No.
as bad as there's been a couple moments, it's going to get lost in the morass of how bad the rest of this season was, and I think people are going to remember more of the good from Swift.
Yeah.
And I think you see the promise in him, and you see the growth capable of him, and he's a bleeping rookie. Like we need to remember that.
Yep.
First bloody year. And running backs usually don't have great first years, Jeremy. Of any stripe, running backs will explode in the second year, but I can't remember the last time. Like, there's only a handful of running backs. Even Derrick Henry, I think, had a Garbo rookie year.
That might be true. I don't know.
I'd have to go and like jog my memory, but
yeah, no, I'm not. I don't think there's really anyone. There might be people like starting to lean that way, but I don't think there's anyone legitimately worried about DeAndre Swift right now. I mean, all you have to really do is look at his season-long stats, and he's killing it. I mean, he's got well over 4 yards a carry.
Yeah.
I think the one maybe disappointing part of his rookie season so far is that he hasn't been as involved in the receiving game as I thought he might be. And that might just simply be a case of, the Lions coaches not trusting him in that role yet, but came into this game with 4.6 yards per carry. I think he had about that today. There's a good chance he eclipses Adrian Peterson in total rushing yards in this game. That's kind of crazy considering he missed 3 games, considering the Lions were so reluctant to use him in the first month of the season. So I'm still very bullish on him. I can't remember which one's which.
Yeah. Now, I mean, they used Henry very sparingly. I just looked this up. Henry used very sparingly in his first year, only started 2 games. He played in 15, but he only had he had just shy of 500 yards his rookie year. So it happens. Like you ease in your running back.
Sure.
Swift has seen quite a bit of use, but maybe his sophomore year won't be great either, but I see the promise there.
Sure.
He's a versatile back. He can do a lot of things good, and all you need to do is just not blow up his development or get him hurt. That's the one thing I'm looking forward to the end of the year. Like, I don't want to see Swift get hurt, because that's what I feel like derailed.
I mean, if you're having that conversation about Stafford and you don't want him to get hurt for 2021, I mean, you have to have that conversation about everybody. I mean, there's not a ton of talent on this team, but you have to have that conversation about Swift. You have to have that conversation about T.J. Hawkinson, about Marvin Jones, I'm just having bad flashbacks like Kerryon Johnson and Amir Abdullah, where it's like we saw the promise and they got hurt, and we just never saw anything good out of them since then. I mean, who knows? Maybe the book's not fully written on Kerryon, but I don't know. It would just suck if we hit the end of the year and Swift has some crazy like leg injury. You hate to see it, but in my opinion,
part of football.
If you're carrying these guys on your team, you play them. I'm sorry, and it's football. Like, it would be unfortunate. I wouldn't think it was coaching malpractice. And he's a rookie too. You want him to get him that experience.
No, you have to get him those experience, that reps. I think I've seen everything I need to see out of Swift this year, though.
Maybe the one thing I'm curious about with his future is just how the new coach will use him, because it's very clear Patricia's his point of view was running back by committee. We don't want to overrun these guys. We want to make sure that when we're in this playoff run that never came in December and January, that these guys were fresh and healthy and ready to go. Is that what the next coach is going to be? Or are they going to look at a guy like Swift and be like, that's a 3-down guy. That's a guy we need on the field as much as possible, and we'll worry about the postseason once we get there. Let's not save everything for December and then not be in contention in December.
I think Swift does needs, I won't say running back by committee, but he needs a change it down back with him. Swift is not a power back right now.
Sure.
Like, he can't do that. So you are going to need not an Adrian Peterson, but someone of that, just a unit that can just power through. And Swift is your, leave him to bounce the outside or catch balls and mix things up. But he's not going to be. I would say you need some variety in that field where it's like 3rd and 1, and you need that yard to turn to move the sticks. Like, Swift can do it, but I think you can probably get someone else who is more of a physical beast to do it.
You know who they shouldn't get to run it on 3rd and 1?
Who's that?
TJ Hawkinson. What are you doing?
I didn't understand that at all.
Listen,
this was not a good day for TJ Hawkinson.
I don't, and honestly, like, I think maybe I'll get more into this in the podcast tonight. I don't think it was a particularly good game for Darrell Bevell in terms of some of the in-game decisions he made. I don't think giving the ball to TJ Hawkinson on a 3rd and 1 is very smart. Same with, there was another situation where I'm just like, why? I mean, the fake punt too. It's like, it's 4th and 5. You're down 2 scores in the 4th quarter. You should be going for it. You line up for a punt. Either there's 2 things wrong with that. 1, it's kind of predictable that you're going to fake it. 2, you're putting the ball in the hands of C.J. Moore instead of Matthew freaking Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Like, why are we putting the ball in people's hands that never have the ball in their hands in these situations and relying on them to keep you in the game? Like, very critical downs. And maybe I'm playing a little bit of, Captain Hindsight with the Hawkinson thing because, if that play works, it's kind of tricky, then he looks like a genius. If he fumbles it, he looks like an idiot. But at the same time, it's just like, it's 3rd and 1. You don't have to be that fancy. You really don't. Just get it done.
Speaking of being fancy, what did you think of the fake punt?
That's what I just said.
Oh,
the fake punt was stupid. You just go for it. Just go for it on 4th and 4.
I got it mixed up with another play. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, just C.J. Moore. Why is he the one carrying the ball on a 4th down for you? Give it to Matthew Stafford. He's playing his balls off in this game. Let him find Hawkinson for 6 yards. He'll fall down immediately, but it'll be a 1st down. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, it's nitpicky because the offense was moving. But
it feels like it's like he's hit every note here for his audition, in that he's putting together a resume. He's got to throw in some trick plays in there.
I guess, but throw some trick plays on 1st and 3rd down, not on 4th down when everyone knows there's a good possibility you're gonna fake it because you're down 14 in the 4th quarter and your defense can't stop anybody. Why in the world would you punt the ball back to them in that situation?
Yeah, I don't know. That was a spot where it felt like they left the offense out in the field there for a while too, and it kind of was like they kind of showed their hand a little early. They kind of tipped their hand just a bit. So I don't know. It wasn't a great. I appreciate the heart. I appreciate the determination, but as you said, it kind of came so late in the game where it's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. All right, I think we're going to wrap it up there. We are going to come back 7 p.m. tonight, guys. I see a lot of people asking about GM stuff, like Louis Riddick. We're going to get into all of that in the post-game or the evening podcast, full hour podcast where we'll talk a little bit more about the game. We'll talk about the Lions have 3 general manager interviews coming up this week. They've already had one with Louis Riddick, and yeah, Detroit just scared the shit out of me again with another 5 gifted subs. Yeah, Detroit, you got to tell me. That's 10 now gifted subs. Where am I putting? What category am I putting those 10 gifted subs in it? Is that towards the Save the Stash or is that towards Shave the Stash? And as soon as you let me know, Save the Stash. There it is. All right, so we're going to enter the POD cast tonight halfway through our Sunday goal of keeping the mustache at 10 of our 20 subs that we need. Let me get there really quick and add it. But yeah, make sure you stick around there. We'll talk about all that GM stuff. We'll talk more about the game. Whoops. And all sorts of other fun stuff. We'll probably answer some of your questions as well. So make sure you hang around then. For now, I'm going to send you over to Super Squares because, as I mentioned, our buddy John is currently in the middle of a huge parlay for a bunch of theoretical money. And the last piece for him to win it is for the Rams to just beat the Jets. All he needs is the 9-4 Los Angeles Rams to beat the 0-13 New York Jets, and it's 13-0 Jets right now. So I want you to go in there. I want you to harass him. I want you to bug him and and just how about just throw in the chat, "Are you scared yet, John?" That's all I want. "Are you scared yet, John?" Throw a bunch of "Are you scared yet, Johns" in the chat. And then enjoy some Super Squares. Super Squares.
I've seen how this starts before. I've seen what happens next.
But yeah, everyone go join there. Until then, we will see you 7 p.m. tonight for the regular POD cast. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Ty Johnson got a touchdown for the Jets. Jesus.
All right, we are rated, which means we're still probably live on YouTube, so I'm going to give it a couple seconds. You YouTubers, again, make sure you stick around 7 p.m. Eastern for the podcast. We'll talk some GM talk because probably don't want to talk for an hour about whatever just happened today. But we'll get into that, and yeah, that'll do it.